Have you ever really stopped to think about why gold, this one shiny, heavy metal, has had such an incredible grip on us for thousands of years? We're going to dive into that because this isn't just an economics lesson. Nope, this is the hidden story of our epic, ages-long quest for value and how we finally found it, forged in metal. This line, it just perfectly nails our whole messy relationship with money, doesn't it? It's a story of trust, of betrayal, and of these timeless rules of value that we as a species seem to learn and then forget over and over again. So to understand why metal became king, we've got to go way back. I'm talking about a time before money even existed, a time of barter. Just imagine for a second you're a farmer. You've got wheat and you need meat. You can't just go to a store. You have to find someone who not only has meat, but also just so happens to want your wheat right at that exact moment. It was a total nightmare, painfully, painfully inefficient. So what did we do? Well, we got creative. Our first solution was to use stuff that was just easier to carry around and trade, things like shells or beads or even salt. And you know what? For a little while, it kind of worked. But these first attempts at currency had a massive, fatal flaw. They were dangerously simple and way too easy to get your hands on. I mean, think about it. If you can just take a walk down the beach and pick up more money, does it really have any value at all? And this brings us to a really crucial idea, a theme that's going to echo through this entire story. It's called the trap of easy currency. And the lesson is simple but profound. True, lasting value cannot come from something that's effortless. If anyone can just snap their fingers and create it out of thin air, it eventually becomes worthless. Humanity was about to learn this lesson the hard way. And then a hero emerged. Not a person, but a material. Around 3000 BC, humans started getting really good at metallurgy, and in doing so, they completely accidentally stumbled upon the perfect solution to that trap of easy currency: metal. So what made metal so different? Well, unlike a seashell, you couldn't crush it. Unlike a bag of salt, it wouldn't dissolve in the rain. It was durable. It was also scarce. This was key. You actually had to work for it. You had to dig and sweat to pull it out of the earth. And last but not least, it just had this universal beauty that people from any culture could look at and say, yeah, I want that. For the first time ever, value had a physical form you could truly rely on. But of course, the story doesn't stop there. People pretty quickly figured out that even among these amazing new forms of money, a kind of natural hierarchy started to form. Some metals were just better than others. Iron, for example, would rust. Copper would tarnish. But among all of them, there was one metal that had a set of qualities so perfect, so incredibly unique, it was almost as if nature itself had designed it to be the ultimate money. And that, of course, was gold. I mean, look at these traits. They're practically mythical. Gold is chemically inert, which means it never, ever rusts or tarnishes. It's basically eternal. A piece of gold from the Roman Empire is just as pure today as it was 2,000 years ago. It was also rare enough to be precious, but not so insanely rare that you couldn't use it for trade. The thing is, gold wasn't chosen by some king or government. It simply won the monetary competition over thousands of years of trial and error. Now, as empires started to rise, they saw the power locked inside this metal, and they knew they needed a standard way to use it. This led to one of the most important inventions in the history of money, the coin. But with this great innovation came a really dangerous new ingredient: human authority. Okay, so here's the crucial point. A coin was a work of pure genius because it combined two different kinds of trust. First, you had the actual value of the metal itself. That's nature's promise. And then, you had the ruler's stamp, which was the government's promise that the coin inside contained a very specific weight and purity. Money was now a symbol of trust in both the laws of physics and the laws of the state. But promises can be broken. Rulers quickly realized they could cheat the system. They could melt down the gold coins, mix in cheaper metals like bronze, and then mint way more coins than they actually had gold for. This was the world's first inflation, a quiet, hidden theft from the pockets of their own people. As the Roman Empire started to crumble, the gold in its coins literally vanished, replaced by lies. The lesson was clear. The real value was never in the stamp. It was always in the metal. This whole cycle of honest money being replaced by corrupt money played out over and over for centuries. But in the 20th century, something totally different happened. Something fundamental changed. The world was about to break its ancient bond with gold for good. For most of human history, gold was the anchor that kept money honest. But the massive world wars and the explosion of government spending in the 20th century made this anchor feel more like a burden. Leaders wanted to spend way more money than they had gold to back it up. Finally, in 1971, that ancient promise was officially broken. The United States completely severed the final link between the US dollar and gold. And in that one moment, for the very first time in all of human history, money became infinite. The physical limit was just gone. A central bank or government could now create money not by digging it out of the ground, but by simply typing a number into a computer. And this is the world we're all living in right now. Our money, what's called fiat currency, has zero intrinsic value. None. Its value comes completely from our collective belief, our faith that the institutions printing it will manage it responsibly. The anchor was cut away, and we all started floating on this huge sea of trust. And this matters, because when that trust gets shaky, that's when you see the inflation and debt that can define so much of our modern economic lives. So, after that long and pretty dramatic history, we've got to step back and ask ourselves, what does all of this really mean? Because this isn't just about history. It's a timeless philosophy about what value truly is. What is the fundamental lesson we can take from gold's long reign as the king of money? It's really not about being nostalgic for some old system. It's about understanding a core principle of how civilizations work. This is really the heart of it all. Gold is hard money. It represents real-world work, real-world scarcity. You have to burn energy to get it. Fiat currency, on the other hand, is easy money. Creating it is effortless. One system is grounded in physical reality. The other is based entirely on a social agreement. One is honest by its very nature. The other depends completely on the honesty of the people in charge. And maybe that's the ultimate takeaway here. In a world that's just full of promises and illusions and shortcuts, genuine, verifiable integrity is the most valuable thing there is. Gold was never the point. It was just a physical reflection of that honesty. It couldn't be faked. In the end, gold is just what it's always been, a dense, incorruptible, and really scarce element. It's silent, it's patient. It's our relationship with value, it's our own discipline, and our own honesty that changes over time. And maybe the lesson of this whole story is the simple one. Until we learn to truly respect what is hard to earn, we'll always be in danger of losing what is so very easy to create.